Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome to Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast with your hosts, Doug Macedo and Tim Chambers.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Doug, and tonight we've got two special guests with us. First one we're going to start off with is going to be Karen. She's she's with an organization called It Takes a Herd Foundation, and they are a new organization. But I'm going to let her tell you everything about what she's about and who she is, and I'll let you take it away, Karen.
Thanks, Doug. Totally appreciate it. And thanks for having me and also Bill, but I'll let Bill speak for himself on that. So It Takes a Herd is a dementia-friendly equine-assisted program. And it came about in 2023, and we just recently became a nonprofit this week. Very happy about that. We service caregivers and their loved ones with dementia with a particular focus on the veterans that are now at a 30% increased risk of developing dementia post-service. I volunteer as a peer mentor with the VA Caregiver Support Program. I've been doing that for about 10 years, and I found a huge void in availability of just information and support for caregivers and, their veterans with dementia, and started out by just doing a lot of, WebEx broadcasts through the VA to build awareness that, hey, there is something out there called a dementia coach or a certified dementia practitioner that can give you this information to make this journey a bit easier. It's very difficult because everyone navigates this journey in a different way. But many times when I speak to a caregiver, they say, where have you been? Like, how come we didn't get matched up with you in the beginning? Because this is like just valid information that we need to continue this boots on the ground service to their veteran. And likewise, I've coached a lot of veterans that are now caring for their spouse, and they don't have the resources that, say, a caregiver in the caregiver support program would have when they care for their veteran. So there's a little bit of a gap there, and I'm all about closing the gap. So knowing the positive impact that horses have on people in general, I decided to kind of marry the two, horse sense and horsemanship and groundwork with dementia coaching. And that's how It Takes a Herd came about.
So with it, I know there was a story that was done because I know you sent it to me. It was talking about, how it all came about and everything. You know, can you give us some background because of like how it began, how you chose to do something, to start something like this? Because I know it was something like along the your father was in the service.
Yeah, my dad and my husband, excuse me, both Navy veterans, and my favorite uncle was an Army veteran, but I won't tell my other uncle who was an Air Force veteran. We'll just keep that in the family. Maybe they won't watch the podcast. And, I was caregiver to both my dad and my husband. And again, noticed that void in just information that was available for a caregiver at any point. Okay, whether it was caring for someone with dementia, whether it was caring for someone with any kind of illness, there wasn't information that was readily available for the caregiver. And I'm a lifelong horseman, have had horses my whole life, and understand what they can bring to the relationship, and just decided that why aren't we doing something with horses? And it's not really new. I mean, people
Yeah,
all over the country are doing this. I sit on a couple of think tanks with two other organizations, one in California and one in where's you, Madison, Wisconsin. Excuse me, I was forgetting my states. Um,
yeah,
and what I do is a bit different than what they do, but it's all about educating the caregiver while at the same time empowering the person with dementia to be independent, to have a
yeah,
purpose, and all of that reduces that stress and that divide that happens when you're a caregiver. So it
yeah,
gets them back to their original role.
absolutely. And when you get into it, it's like, I know because my wife is somewhat my caregiver. Um, you know, even though as we're going to get into it, I just met Bill at the Fisher Cats game,
Hmm.
and I'm one of those guys that will, kind of taunt the other team, not the non-home team, and I'll be the one like, just saying things. And my wife's like, "Oh, you're off the chain. You got to calm down." And I'm like, "It's okay." But my wife knows since I've gotten into the VA, I needed the help from the VA
Hmm.
because I was one of those individuals that just was kind of off hinged myself because I needed some kind of therapy.
Hmm.
And she even pointed it to me and it's like, listen, it's something that you need to do. Um, you know, and I kind of took two horses too, because that was something that the Bedford VA, they had a therapeutic stuff with horses.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, when it comes to needing that, horses are almost like they can sense your whole body feeling of that.
Hmm.
And it's great that you're doing something like this. Now, how do you, this is like my question is more, it's, how do you get these horses that you have to be able to do that kind of therapeutic stuff?
So what I do in this particular program is, even though I'm looking out here and I have, 3 stall barn and 2 acres, my horses are not here anymore, but I work
Yeah,
with I work with local farms specific to like therapeutic riding facilities, or horses that have been exposed to a lot of different stimuli, walkers, wheelchairs, loud noises, different things like that. And so I
yeah,
partner with the farm, and I go
yeah,
in there and bring my program and my participants into the farm and utilize their horses. And
gotcha.
it's actually worked really well. And what that does, Doug, is also allow me to take the program all over the country in essence, because as long as I can partner with the farm, I can bring this program to the
Yeah,
farm and bring their veterans from that area to take advantage of the program.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it works well. Works really
But
well.
it seems like it. And again, I mean, it's something that a lot of people really should, kind of look into is stuff like that because again, um, horses do sense people. Horses are very therapeutic. It's almost like a service dog.
Hmm.
Um, again, it's something that's very amazing. So when would be like, 'cause I know again, like as you said, it's something that's new because you just got your EIN number and stuff like that. Do you guys use a certain area where you guys have it? Because I think it's like I thought I read something that said it was like you guys are out of Tewksbury.
It was the most recent two sessions were at Strongwater Farm in Tewksbury, um,
Yeah,
which is generally where the Bedford VA will refer their veterans through rec therapy or through caregiver support. My veterans are recruited, I should say, which is a big word, but from my caregiver support coordinator, Jay Smith, who's at the Bedford VA. He kind of knows who may be a good fit, and sometimes probably similar to what you felt. Oh, I don't have anything to do with horses. I'm afraid of horses. I don't want to do anything with horses. So people don't know, and when they get into the facility and we're starting to introduce them to horses, all of that just melts away. Okay.
yeah,
And the person that has dementia can then be quite independent with the horse. There's a lot that you can do as far as groundwork, which I'm sure you knew if you went through
yeah,
it yourself. Many different activities that you can do. In another month, I will become certified in equine assisted learning. So, not that I need that because what I'm doing is a dementia coaching program using
yeah,
the equines as a conduit. But it just helps because there really aren't any programs that include the caregiver. Okay,
yeah,
so caregiver is really stressed to the max, and this program gives them the tools that they need to walk through this journey with their loved one that has
yeah,
dementia, and yet also reduces what's called caregiver incongruence, which is when you're a caregiver, you lose your sense of self. You don't know if you're the
yeah.
wife, the husband, anything like that. So this brings them back together. And it's
Ab-
just been amazing. I've done 8 sessions now. The last two that were at Strongwater were just amazing for that group. And, looking to book several other sessions in the fall.
yeah. Now, and that's great that it's like you have so many sessions that you've already done, so that which are already in the books. It's like perfect. This is great. You're fine tuning it. Um, I'm gonna get into Bill a little bit with this because I want to, see where he's came in about because I know again like I said I saw the Boston 25 News and stuff like that. Bill, you're the founder and everything with Run for Our Troops and everything. And how did you come to connect with Karen and the herd?
Well, I heard about Karen running a program at a facility that I was quite familiar with, and it didn't take much to turn my head because both of my parents, along with our family, my parents suffered from dementia and Alzheimer's, and then having tried to understand what was going on was extremely difficult and how our family dealt with it. Obviously, I was very interested in what Karen was doing because as my parents suffered and as our family suffered throughout the years, over 8 years of my mother having Alzheimer's, I go, now that I'm experienced through the tragedy of having, witnessed my parents declining, I'm a veteran, unfortunately, of Alzheimer's, and so I thought that this was a calling that I could help people deal with this because my my family was unaware of what to do. We had no clue what to do. We
Yeah.
weren't prepared. My parents were both extremely independent, extremely driven, passionate people, and all of a sudden the dishes aren't getting done. She's not stopping at red lights, and
Yeah.
she can't, and I go, oh my goodness, my sisters and I, what do we do? We had no clue.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I had to deal with it with my grandfather. Um, you know, him and I both were named Doug, and when I started noticing it, it was like I'll call him up and say, "Hey, it's Doug," and my grandfather would be like, "Oh, I'm Doug. You're Doug?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then I go back to saying, "Oh, it's DJ." "Oh, you're all grown up," and I'm like, "Absolutely." And he was again one of those independent individuals, and again, my grandfather would say, when he was very independent, it was like, he was a jack of all trades, but a master of nothing, but a better be a master of one than a master of none. As my grandfather would always say, again, and he was an Army veteran, and it was kind of tough trying to figure out with my grandfather being, having dementia, trying to figure out how to help and coordinate with him and my grandmother, um, things to help him out. Um, you know, and this is a question, for probably for both of you, Karen and Bill. You know, has anybody done any studies on um, why veterans are not more likely, but are high risk to having dementia? Was there any studies or anything done like that?
There are studies through the VA. There are also outside studies. Predominantly, I go back to exposure to Agent Orange, like in the Vietnam era, traumatic brain injury, post traumatic stress. They're all playing a part in the increase in dementia. Now, that being said, and I always kind of put this caution onto it, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. But I want you to be
No.
aware that if something isn't right, then we need to see the healthcare provider. And fortunately, I have the good fortune of having the It Takes a Herd program being researched by Dartmouth College up in New Hampshire, because they took a vested interest in this, and they said, this is phenomenal. Let's, research this. So hopefully, it will bring light to it, and it will bring more awareness that there is help out there and you
Yeah.
can fully take advantage of something like this. And it's not this program, it's not a doctor's appointment, it's not a hospitalization. It's an atmosphere where you build your herd. You
Yeah.
have connection, community, and camaraderie, and in a great atmosphere.
Absolutely. No, it does. And the way you have the organization, It Takes a Herd. It really does. It takes a whole village to,
Mhm.
raise a family. It takes a whole village to, take care of the elderly because, let alone the person with dementia, um, the person who is the caregiver, it's stress on both of them. It takes a toll onto it. And one thing I've realized with, even my grandfather, he would find himself tired more throughout the day, where he would have to take naps.
Mhm.
And it was like, wow. And again, same goes with my grandmother. It was like, with her, it was very draining on her, and us to be able to take care of him because, you had to stay on your toes with him. Because if not, he would be down the street on his scooter thinking it's okay to go to Walmart when he won't even be able to find his way back,
Right.
or even know where he's actually going. Um, because again, I've seen it and
Mhm.
lived it. You know, so with that being said, I mean, I know you guys are new at this, being a
Not Bill, but
nonprofit.
just me. Bill's not new.
Correct.
I'm new.
Bill's not new at all. He knows what he's doing,
He
and
does.
he has he has an organization that he started, which is the Run for Our Troops, and it's amazing on the things that he does because again, like I said, I met him just recently at the Fisher Cat game up in Manchester, and he's definitely knows what he's got to do. He knows what he has to do to raise funds and stuff like that. This question is for you. I mean, Karen, have you already looked into how to raise funds for your organization, like events and stuff like that? And if so, if you have like events and stuff that you're already planning, what are those, and where can we find those?
Currently, the first and only one that's planned, because we waited for our EIN number and our nonprofit status, is actually a comedy fundraiser at Prince Pizzeria on October
Oh,
16th. I got to choose the comedians, and one of the comedians that I chose, his family has a history of Alzheimer's, and he was more than willing to step up and perform for us, as well as one of our own. I call them herd members. She's a
yeah,
volunteer um, with the herd, and she has just gotten into stand up comedy. And I said, there's no better place for you to make not a debut, because she has been at different venues, but the herd participants and a lot of people know her. So she gets to have
yeah,
a few minutes uh, about her comedy routine.
absolutely.
But yeah,
So you must have been in contact. What's his name? Mike, I think it is.
I was in contact with Mike, and he was great. And then I happened to, I also work as a dental hygienist, and one of my patients is the owner of Giggles Comedy Club. So I talked with him briefly, and he's sent me down to talk to his general manager, and that was how that all came about. And I think again, my focus, Doug, is like, you want to be underneath the race car, fixing the race car. I want to be in an arena with horses and, veterans that have memory loss and their caregivers. This is like foreign territory to me, but fortunately, I have a lot of support from, my two other board members, Mel and Janine.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's great that because again, I've been in the works of trying to do a comedy night. Um, I have a bunch of veterans who are comedians that I
Awesome.
know, and let alone, I mean, some of them are here in New England, but there's one that's down in Long Island. His name is Tugboat Manny. I had him on the podcast already as well. He's a Navy veteran. So there's one that she's a Coast Guard, and she always jokes about it and says, yeah, she's a Coast Guard veteran, and she's like, that's like the nobody knows, that, the Coast Guard. Oh,
Hmm.
I didn't know that was a branch of the service. She makes that kind of joke.
Hmm. Yeah, they
So
get a lot of heat for that.
yeah, and then now you got the Space Force, which is, again, that's another one. But it's great that you got that going on. Definitely when you guys have the date set in, we're gonna have that posted out there for you.
Thank you.
So just make sure you send me that information so I can do that. Because again, with all the viewers and stuff like that, we want to be able to have that. So, as you guys are watching this, the information for that will not be down below. But as soon as we do have it, we will make sure that it is the flyer is posted out there and on the rotation. So as you guys will know, it will be on the rotation on the beginning of the podcast and stuff like that. But we'll have that information as well as I know we talked before, Karen, on this is you guys don't have a website or it's under construction, and then also social media.
Hmm.
You don't know where that's going to take you yet, but as soon as we have confirmation from you, Karen, we will make sure that we blast that out there because again, as you say, is, you want to fill those gaps, and keep everything going. I always call it as bridging the gaps, because all of us organizations, it takes, again, it takes a herd to be able to get the word out there. And again, that's why I love doing the podcast, is because this gets that information out there, because a lot of people don't know about other organizations like yourself, and, like Run for the Troops or Homeland Heroes Foundation, or even, what I do with FUBAR Studios Veteran Reinforcement. We host these events called Track Day for Veterans. So without that information getting out there and being broadcasted, it's just word of mouth. Is what we need to do, is be able to help each other, and expand that. So once you have that information, we definitely will put that out there, put the flyers out there, and that whole where the comedy club is, that's over on US 1, which I
It
know it
is.
very well.
You do.
So we'll make sure that puts out there. So please be on the lookout, everybody, because this is something that I highly recommend you doing, and be able to get your tickets and stuff like that, once it gets posted out there.
And Doug,
Um,
honestly, if your listeners are obviously have anyone that's affected by dementia, please feel free to reach out, because
ab-
there's a lot of resources that I can provide for them, and I'm more than happy to do it to again bridge that gap. Um,
abs-
we all need to help
Absolutely.
each other.
Absolutely. So if you're watching this now, please make sure, if you are in need, if you know someone that is battling, or that is going through with dementia, Karen will be the person you definitely want to reach out to. We'll have her information, how to get a hold of her and her organization, posted down below. So definitely be on the look on that, on the comments. We'll make sure we have it pinned up there. Um, so we definitely do appreciate you coming on, Karen.
Thank you.
Um, you're very welcome. And, Bill, I want to talk about your organization. And, again, we already got into how you met Karen and everything, but, your organization, Bill, is Run for Our Troops. You know, I'll let you take it away and explain a little more about it. The viewers, probably, a lot of them probably already know who you are, but we'll go with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, Karen is a young lady with enormous passion, and being raised by both military parents. My mom served in the Marines. My father served in the Navy. My mother's famous quote that I always will remember is, whenever I would feel down or depressed, my mother would say, "Son, just pick up your pants and act like a Marine." And then my father would always tell me when I was struggling or stuff, or things seemed difficult, he goes, "Bill, never forget you're an American. And the last four letters are I can." So having been brought up like that, I'm extremely attracted to people with passion. And that's why Karen and I think, are on a mission here to try to make life better
Yeah.
for what we've witnessed. I just like to get back a little bit back to the veterans. I think the impact of dementia and Alzheimer's on a veteran is extremely difficult, because they have they've had a purpose all their lives to serve and help others,
Yeah.
and they don't expect people to do things for them. A Marine with Alzheimer's, I think, is one of the worst combinations on the planet. My mother was extremely capable, extremely driven, and for someone to change her underwear is something that's very difficult for her. And then my father, seeing the woman that he loved for 60 years turn into something else, the wife, was extremely difficult for him. And
Yeah.
suicide became an option for him because of the difficulty that he had dealing with his wife with dementia, and he was, starting to decline with dementia too. And it was very difficult for both of them, and they didn't know how to handle it. And then you throw in the family. We didn't know how to handle it, so it was the first couple of years were just off the chart difficult for them and for our family. So
Yeah.
whatever Karen and I can do, and the support of so many others can do to reduce the impact of this just horrific situation, we're on a mission. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, no, and when I first met you, because again, my wife is new to this of military way. She was like, when you were talking to her, she was like, "Oh, your wife was a Marine," and I'm first thinking in my head, there is no was a Marine. It's once a Marine, always a Marine. Once a devil dog, always a devil dog. Um, she's catching that a little bit herself, and I'm like, I was waiting for you to say, yeah, your mom said, yeah, I no, I am a Marine.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned to do when my mother was, it was hard to strike up a conversation because she was not mentally able to do it. One of the things that really got her motivated, I would tell a nurse, I go, yeah, my mom was a Marine, and she would just snap to attention and just, what are you talking about? I am a Marine, and it was, in fact, her last words were, she hadn't talked in a couple months, and her last words I'll never forget. It was, a couple days before she passed away. She could sing. This is what's fascinating. The disease wasn't so god awful. It's a fascinating disease because she could sing, but she could not talk. And so I would put the Marine Corps flag in her hand and put my cell phone by her ear, and she would sing the Marine Corps hymn. And as I went to take the flag out of her hand, her last words that I ever heard were, "That's my flag." And after 2 months of saying nothing, how does that happen? And that's, as horrible as these diseases are, you got to cherish moments like that. And
Absolutely.
so it makes it a little bit more bearable, a little bit.
No, absolutely. And, again, as, we talked before, as Tim Chambers, who is well known as the saluting Marine, he does that. He goes around and sees veteran, but also Marine Corps veterans that are in the ending stages of their life sometimes, and he goes and talks to them and sings the Marine Corps um, song and everything, and it's like, it kind of moves those veterans as well as it gets them to start singing along with them. And it's amazing the work that he does as a Marine. It's amazing, and to see Marines do that, it's like I've never not seen a Marine, say, never say, I never heard him say, I used to be a Marine. It's, again, I'm always a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine. And they all know the Marine Corps song. And as soon as it starts going, it's like straight to attention, and they start singing it. Just like me, again, when I sing the Army song, and the national anthem, my body, and like as I'm going right now, just even thinking of it, it's like goosebumps. And it's that feeling knowing that I'm a U.S. Army veteran, and knowing the national anthem, it's like it's going to go with me until the day that I go. Knowing, because again, my grandfather with dementia, he knew that until the day that he died. You know, it stuck with him, and that was one of the things that he always remembered. And the day that he passed away, it was like he knew and looked at my grandmother. Um, he was with her from the time that she was, I think, 14 until when he was passed, which was in 2018, I think, is when he passed. And, you know, looked at my grandmother and said, I've always loved you and I will continue loving you. Um, and it's like, it was amazing. Um, you know, and she would always refer back to him and say, well, I love you, and you're my soldier.
It's beautiful.
You know,
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful.
it really is. And what you're doing and what, you know, Bill's helping and, you know, doing the stuff supporting your guys' organization is absolutely amazing and beautiful. It's, you know, let alone veterans need it. It's just people that are going through dementia need it. Um, they both do. The person that has dementia as well as the caregiver, because it's, again, it's a strain on both individuals. Um, and we need to be able to help, you know, keep these individuals, um, hopefully their minds going and continue going and not deteriorating. Well, it's gonna be deteriorating, but to help with the relieving that kind of deteriorating and trying to keep the memory going for them and keep their spirits going and
That
up.
the big thing that you said before, Doug, about, isolating, which, many veterans do.
Yeah,
Um, Very common in dementia caregivers, not just the person with dementia, but caregivers, because, there is a stigma attached to dementia. Unfortunately, there should not be, but I hope to change that, or at least make a dent in it, at least.
yeah,
But um, so social isolation contributes to increased depression, increased anxiety, and increased suicide rate of a caregiver. So
yeah,
let's get everybody out and come into the barn and work with some horses and give you a little bit of education and have some fun and remember who you are together, whether it's, husband and wife or father and son or any kind of a dyad, and then just reconnect to that position, and that carries on after the herd series is done. And we're together for 4 sessions, 2 hours a session, over the 4 weeks. And I've had such good feedback from participants saying, wow, all I have to do is watch the video that you gave us walking to music, or activities that we were doing, or mindfulness exercises, and that takes us from a bad day to a good day.
yeah,
So that's all it takes.
Yeah,
absolutely. And
I'll never forget the time my mother was celebrating her 90th birthday, and one of my best friends, and this wasn't a short drive, it's like 2.5 hours one way, and he joined me and about four other people, to help celebrate my mother's birthday. And this is the great, explain this one to me, Karen. My mother at that time was using a walker. All right, we had this young Marine who was having lunch with her, a real charmer, good-looking Marine in uniform sitting next to her. And we were going to take some photos at the end. Now, my mother was using this walker, okay, 90 years old. The photo op was about 50 feet away, okay? I go, Mom, we're going to take some photos. The Marine's over there by the Marine Corps flag. Do you want me to get you your walker? She goes, son, with a good looking Marine like that, I don't need that thing. And she strutted over there like she was going down a runway in Paris. Now, Karen, you explain to me how that's physically.
So I'm gonna say this is what I say all the time. Don't say what I can't do. Just
Yeah.
watch me do what I can do. And
Yeah.
if you set him up for success and you knew that it was safe and she knew what she was going after, which was that young, good looking Marine to take photos, she was going to get there if she had to like glide across the room.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. And I think, Doug, you saw it on the Boston 25 News. You know, my one Navy veteran, Dan, that was on there with his son, he has Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's. He's been to 3 different herd series with me. If you get him to start walking with the horse, he doesn't need a caregiver next to him. He's walking alone
Wow.
in full stride. As are some people that have come in on walkers and then they're walking. It's just getting them acclimated. It's a little bit at a time. But I always focus on the ability, not the disability. And that's what you
That,
have to keep, you know, saying.
Yeah,
that's
my mother was a great fan of the Wizard of Oz, and she loved chocolate. So one of the things we did, and this is some of the tricks that you learn how to deal with it. My sister, who was a phys ed teacher, she and I cut out yellow pieces of paper that looked like bricks. And my mother knew if she followed the yellow brick road, there would be chocolate at the end. And it got her up and moving. And it made the outing with my mother or the time with my mother a lot more enjoyable. Just like the horses.
Absolutely.
We had yellow pieces of paper. We had a good looking Marine. And it
That's
makes
right.
the visit so much better. We had a chicken that would lay eggs, one of these wind up chickens. And the great thing about a chicken in Alzheimer's, you can wind up that chicken every 5 minutes because they forget. But you can redirect the conversation by just simply winding up a chicken. And my mother would say, "Where'd that chicken come from?" And she would repeat it, 12 times an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd that chicken come from? But it
Brand
would
new.
take her anger away or
Mm-hmm.
you redirect the conversation.
absolutely.
Bill's got a
Absolutely.
graduate degree in Dementia 101. I just conferred it on him in this podcast because he does great. Really.
Absolutely. And it's great again, what you're doing and what, how Bill's supporting with the, Run for the Troops. He's supporting you and your organization. Bill, can you give the viewers a way to tell us a way to how they can donate to your organization to help donate, to Karen and her It Takes a Herd foundation?
We have our website and we have events. The website is runforthetroopsma.org. And like coming up on August 24th, we're doing a ride for our veterans. And there's so many great moments that have already happened and they're going to be fulfilled on the 24th. We have about 8 Marines coming down from the program up in Maine that are physically challenged. And because of our support for this program called VAST, they're going to use electric assist bikes, recumbents, to do this event. And we have Jeannie from Florida, real good friend of Karen and mine and me, whose husband, passed away, suffering from dementia and Agent Orange and all this stuff. And it's those moments of togetherness and camaraderie. Not only it's like Karen does with horses, we're doing them with bikes. And we've raised a lot of money already with a limited amount of people, and we do a lot. What we find the most important thing we can do, and we're all volunteers. We're not going on vacation trips. The board. We're all. And I got the cream of the crop in Andover. I've lived in Andover 30 years. I've got the best people. I've got lawyers, accountants. I'm just the conductor of the band here. I don't write checks. I meet with people and sponsors. I get a lot of it because it's such an easy, I'll call it sell, to get people to support this, because I can tell people directly what the effects of Alzheimer's on a Marine is. And I can, and when we give electric assist bikes or we have camaraderie events, I invite our sponsors to the events. The veterans cannot get an electric assist bike unless they attend the event because our sponsors know exactly where the money is going. We have video of an 86-year-old veteran in a recumbent electric assist bike biking with his fellow veterans. It is priceless. So, and when I talk to sponsors, I go, so how would you like to help? And I just pause. And they go, any way we can. And then I try to put on the shoe that fits them. And, we have a, Baldwin Crane, hangs bought and purchased a huge American flag. And they bring their crane in and they hang it at the finish line. We have Stop and Shop does the food. We have Snyder Electric, once again, is supporting our bike program. So
Wow.
but it is priceless in other ways. This is no exaggeration. We have members of our board, members of our committee, who said without Run for the Troops, they'd be dead. They'd be a suicide. They're suicide survivors now instead of suicide victims. And I don't call our veterans disabled because we have a Marine who is not a Marine, an Army veteran with a prosthetic knee who has run marathons, who has done the Boston Marathon and hand cycle, who has physically run. He's just this past summer in June, I believe it was, did a trail walk, run with a fellow veteran in the Grand Canyon, 22 miles. You tell me that guy's disabled, but he's also the guy that he'll get up in public. He say if it wasn't for Run for the Troops, he'd be dead. Yeah,
Wow.
The tragedies of war have an enormous effect, and these veterans are so proud that they won't ask for help until it's too late and they're too embarrassed. And my son-in-law, saw some awful stuff in Iraq, just beyond this, and he had no one to talk to when he came back to his hometown, because who was he going to talk to? Only 5 people from his graduating class in high school, 500 people. Went into the military. He comes back, and it took him 3 years to tell anyone. And fortunately, my daughter had an ear for him when they were dating, and so I've seen these sacrifices firsthand. I never really directly served, but I understand this. I've seen the sacrifices. My father being away, we were moved every 2 years, and my father once in a while would, let things out about, his lost friends and stuff. And I asked him one day, because he was very low key, never got emotional about too much, but when it did make a difference, he was there. I asked him why. He goes, when you have a kamikaze pilot crashing into you and you have a piece of metal on your rear end, you save the energy for the things that are truly important.
Yeah.
And, his family and his fellow veterans was so important to him. Trying to carry on that family trait. So see what happens.
Absolutely. And, we're getting close to the end of this. And, so they can donate definitely to your organization directly, Bill, by going to the Run for Our Troops .mass.org.
Yeah, it's Run for the Troops MA .org, and we have our big event coming up in the fall, and all our events are on our website. And I just like to make sure one of the things that is on our shirt. This is just a sample of the shirt from this year, but we, with I don't care what other charities you talk about, none of them would be possible without the sacrifices that our military does. And what we say is, without their sacrifice, we would not have our safety or our freedom. So that's on all our shirts now, and you'll see it at the Run for the Troops on November 9th. And we do a dinner on the 7th. And camaraderie is so huge, because I asked the best. We used to help build, houses. but it was
Yep.
one house for one vet. We take that same money and give it to Karen, and she's going to impact 70 to 80 veterans in a year.
Damn.
So the
That's,
camaraderie is a huge thing.
that's great. And, it's awesome the work that both of you guys are doing. It's absolutely amazing, beautiful. And, I can't wait for these events to come up because I definitely am going to be getting myself a ticket to go to these because, again, the money goes where it should go. Again, it's not going into the pockets of, the board members. It's not going on, lavish vacations, with the board. It's going right back to the veterans, and, it's amazing. So we're going to get that information, get that pinned out there for you, Bill, and your organization. Karen, when you guys get the domain going, your website and stuff, and figure out how you guys want to do certain things with social media, we are absolutely willing to get that all posted out there, as well as the event you guys will have with the giggles and stuff like that, giggles and all that, so that people can purchase those tickets. And again, I'll be another one that's going to go to it because again, it goes to a great cause, which is going to help the people that have the dementia and the caregivers and stuff. So I am passionate about that because again, of my grandfather. So we do appreciate you guys both coming on, talking about the organizations, and I hope you guys the best. Definitely would love to have you guys back on at a later date and bring up some more and be able to have more interactions and see what's going on with the organization as it continues to go. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you both.
Thank you so much, Doug. Totally appreciate it. And I'll let you know when the next herd series is up and running and you can do an in-person visit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because
you got to wear purple. I didn't wear my purple tonight, but you got to wear purple. I'll figure it out.
I don't know if I look good in purple. I know
everybody looks good in purple. That's the color.
I had a Hawaiian shirt that was white and purple that I wore to the Homeland Heroes Foundation, a luau thing that they had. So maybe if that's possible, I'll wear that maybe.
That's possible, as long as it has purple in it. Totally.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Bill, as always, thank you.
Yeah, and Doug, as I think I mentioned to you at the baseball game, I don't think it was an accident that I saw you at the game.
Absolutely, and sorry if I might have been heckling the guy Jared too much.
Yeah.
It was definitely fun.
Well, you got to behave yourself now. That's what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
That was the attraction. I go, this guy's got passion. I'll talk to this guy.
Absolutely, and can continue talking about this. But until next time, everybody, all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in this evening. All of our sponsors and everything. Until next time, we salute you and thank you guys for your service. Until next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast. Please make sure to like and follow Homeland Heroes on all of their social media outlets. Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast is a Foo Bar Studios Sinista1 Co-production.